Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to make this betta fish or fighting fish. So as you see, this fish it also can be animated between random and on the curve. So you can choose it to be swimming totally randomly or swimming with the curve or something in between. And this series about this fish will be 4 videos. So the first 2 videos you can get this procedural fish and you will get this fish scale. That is, I'm using a very easy, very efficient ways to do that. In the last 2 videos we'll discuss how to make the material for this fish and how to animate the fish. And also you can make these systems as a fish generator, so you can generate a fish by using different timestamp. The reason why the video will be break down to 4 parts is because I wish to make this series of video to be beginners friendly, explain things more detail and more slowly. I see this series is the follow-up of this flower tutorial that I think a lot of my viewers that enjoy. Complete file that you see in the opening animation will be posted on my Patreon, and the simplified version of the file will be on my Gumroad. Let's jump into the first video to make this fish. If you take a look at the reference, the fish looks like this. So basically we will model that, but in the tutorial we will not make it so realistic like this. We will just model a simplified form that is good enough to show how you work for the whole effect. So go to your 3D viewport and create a UV sphere and make sure your gizmo, which is this, looking like this, is the same as mine. So don't be anything else, just looking like this. So let's model this. Go to the edit mode. We have to rotate 90 degrees. So make this to be the head and this to be the tail. Put the head somewhere around here. So that's starting to make the shape looks like that. So I've been spent like 5 minutes to model this basic form. You don't have to be perfect, just something close to the outline of this fish. Now comes to something more important than the shape. We have to X out all this part that you wish to grow. We will grow this tail, so it's this part, and this something on the top, and something on the bottom, and something like its hands. 1, 2, 3, 4 main part. So let's do that. First we can grow something for the back. Change to this edge selection to select the area, and depends on your like, you can select more toward the front or to the tail. So it depends on you. Select the area that's close to this, just like somewhere here. So change to this edge selection and shift and click the place that you want. So be sure you select very top, not the other. It might be a little bit difficult at first. Maybe it's easier like this. I think like this will be good. So click E to extrude and click Z to constrain the direction to be only in the Z axis. So it will get like this. You don't have to be so long, just a little bit. Then to the bottom. So the bottom maybe go a little bit through the front, so maybe one more. So select here and here and here and here and here and here, and make sure you didn't select anywhere else. So click E and Z. We do the basically same thing. Then do for the tails here and here, and click E to take out a little. Click X to constrain to be X axis. Make sure you have closed this and press S to make it a little bit bigger, something like this. And then we have to do it for the hand here, which is here. Maybe these two and these two. So just make sure you click the right place and go to the front and click E. Make sure it's extrude and press S to make it like a wider, and go to the side mode, push it a little bit back and lower so you get something like this. Maybe it's a little bit too wide, so try to make it smaller. Don't need it to be so big. Okay, now we got this, and we want to subdivide it a little bit. Personally, I like to use modifier to subdivision modifier, and just be 1, and just click here to make sure everything is what we want. Yeah, that is what the shape that we are looking for. Press this arrow and go apply. So now we got this. This is very important because we want here to be 2 parts. There's one is like on the top and one is on the bottom, same as everywhere you want to grow. We want to make it to be 2 parts. And of course, at this time we can have more precise face. Maybe I think here is too much to the front, so I can select these two and I can delete that. Make sure you select this face, so you will delete only these 2 face. It's depend on you. If you feel it's okay to go more front, don't delete that. So now I think maybe I would like to delete these two as well. And now we have to make some vertex group for all this selection. Change this to be edge, select and press option and click right on the top edge. So only on this very top edge, go to your vertex group and then name this to be top and assign. Click this select to make sure it's assigned. Okay, so 1 for the bottom, option click, assign, select to make sure. Okay, and 1 for the tail. So assign, select, yes, and 1 for the hand of the fish. You make sure you select both and assign, select. So now we got that, but there's one more we want to select. It's the body. Make sure you select everything, press A, and we have to deselect some of this growing out part. Change this to face, deselect all this area, I press Ctrl. Because I'm using Mac, so maybe on the PC the shortcut is a little bit different. Okay, and also these 2 hands. Make sure you didn't deselect anywhere else, and change this to be edge or point. Make sure it's not in anywhere else, only on the body. So make a group, make body and assign, select. Okay, and there's one last more. We have to select all these 4. So select, 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 select. Make sure it's all these 4 main part. Make a new one, call that all part, and assign and select to make sure. Okay, so I put this right on the top, and maybe the tail the second, and the top, bottom, hands, body. So I prefer this order. So now at this point we finish the basic shape modeling, and we can always jump back to model this, like what I have modeled for the detailed version. In the beginning I only make something like this. It's not like right in the back I make something like this. Always you can come back to change this. It will not affect what you do in the geometry now. Like all these eyes and mouth and this place, this detail, you can always coming back to make that. So that's jump into the geometry node. And there is something very important that I forgot to do for the rest of my video. You have to scale down your fish to be close to the nature size of the fish. So don't have to be 100% precise, but maybe 0.1 is okay. Even smaller if you know how big is the real size of the fish. After that, you just hit Ctrl A to apply, and all transforms. So now the fish size will be actually small. And for the rest of the video, just don't follow the exact same value that I do. Maybe scale down, it will fit your fish. So we make a geometry node on top of this fish, and we name that to be fish, and press N to take out this control panel and go to the group. And now what we want to do is take the vertex group into the geometry node. So we have 6 vertex group to make. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Press the plus sign and change them all to Boolean. Oops. Boolean, 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 Boolean. And just copy the name for the naming. No, but make sure you're in the correct order. And also here, go to the modifier panel and press this plus sign and just choose whatever is the same name. This cross sign, tail, and the top, and the bottom, hands, and the body. So now we have all this selection. Use a separate geometry. Set it to be face, and try to drag the body. And now you can get these two different selection. One is for this all growing part, and one is for the body, including the lower part of these tails, but it doesn't matter. So now we want to offset this tail first. Use a set position, maybe lower because we want to work on this a little bit more. Vector math and position, and set this vector math to be multiply and add. This multiply and add, go to the offset, and the position, go to this vector for the multiply and add. So now you see you have offset the whole thing. Change this to be the invert, because what we want is to offset this tail. But we might still want to see the body, so we can use a join geometry. Put the end and grab this to let them show. We know we want to change the tail, so take this tail selection and put this into the set position selection. So now we grab this. It will only affect this. So now you see we can make a tail that we are desire. Later we will apply some noise to it, so it will change quite a bit. So just have to be something like the fish. Take it a little bit up or a little bit down. I can do that. Maybe this time I would like to go up a little. And duplicate this and set it to be scale. So we can scale this if we want to make some change later, it's easier. So now we have done that. So make a frame and put all this into the frame and rename that to be tail offset. I would like to duplicate this, put this tail to here. Basically the same ideas. In this way it looks more organized. So now you probably know what we are going to do next. We just copy this, grab this to here, and plug this second set position to the joint geometry. Cut off here. Now we want to change the top. But personally, I will change the top and the bottom at the same time. But you can do it separately, but this was one way to do that. We take a Boolean math and put it here and set it to be OR. And take the bottom to the second socket. So now we can change them in the same time, because for me, they work as a pair. So if I change like this, it will move together, but that's how I like it. Then just duplicate one more. After you copy that, grab the set position to the next set position. Grab this hands selection to the selection and delete this. And put this back to the joint geometry and then cut off here. So now we have to change the hands. Maybe like this. Now basically you got your fish. That kind of like the part 1 of this geometry node setup. So what is next is another group of setup for the noise. So if you have watched my flower tutorial, it's kind of idea like that. You just apply a bunch of noise. You have to find the distance between body and tail that have been offset. So the noise will apply stronger on the top and will be applied weaker close to the body. Before we do that, now we have more idea about this fish look. So maybe you can go back and model some of the fish detail, or you can use sculpting. So maybe I feel the head looking too big. I would like to make some change. So when you're in the edit mode of this fish, make sure you click off or click on this tag. So in this way you can see this part or close this part, depending on how you like. So now I will leave that on and I can model that. Okay. And at this point you can put the basic eyes on the fish. So use UV sphere and make it smaller. Of course this is still a very basic eyes, just for showing purpose. And make sure you put the end of this UV sphere to be like somewhere the eyes point to. And duplicate that. Grab it to the other side. It don't have to be perfect, because that's what the real life. It's not all looks the exactly same on the both sides, right? And this will not affect how we work, so it's okay. Then now you got the eyes, make a group for the eyes. Select both these eyes and make a group for the side. Select. But now we have to put the eyes also in the body selection. So select the body and the eyes and all assign to the body. So if you select the body, you also will be select the eyes. So that's what we want. For me, this is good enough for this point. Let's go back to the geometry node. So now let's make the detail for these tails. Set position. Put it here. We take a noise texture and just try to plug this with this offset. See what is going on. That looks pretty weird. So use vector math and set it to be subtract and 0.5. Put here. So now it looks better, but still pretty weird. So what is going on? Because we have offset all this part at once, so everything will offset. What we want is also make some selection. Take another group input. So remember we have these all parts. If we plug this with the selection like this, it's much better because we only offset this very edge, because this all part is selecting all this very edge. So the part that is connecting to the body will not be affected. Close this for this arrow and we just put it here. So as you see, there is not much face to work on. So we will like to use a subdivision surface. Plug that right in front of this. At this point you can maybe set it to be like 2. So now you see something that I have intentionally to do for this separate geometry, because if I didn't separate them, let's see if I plug that in here, all these plates are not much different, separate or not. But if you see the body, it will be subdivided, but the body didn't need to be subdivided, so that's why I have to separate them. In this way we can make the performance much better. We want it to be animate, not just a still image. The performance of this are quite important. Now you see something is heading the direction that we are hoping for, but not quite yet. Change this to be 4D and try to adjust a little bit to be something you like. Duplicate this and put a multiply this direction to be stronger, maybe put it to 1. The X direction to be weaker, just little 0.2, and this 0.5 is okay. And after this multiply, you can put a scale for the final change. You can change this to be multiply and add. You can have a bit more. It looks kind of okay, but still not perfect because we haven't get the distance of this body and the distance of this selection. That's why the noise is basically quite even for this area and this area. It looks quite even. But what we want is here is most strong, and go toward the body, it will be less powerful. We have to capture some attribute. And before we do that, we can frame this. Then that to be big noise. Now we take a look at the whole node tree. After the offset, you can capture something, use a capture attribute, and set it to be vector, and grab a position. So here we got the position that is after the offset, so it's this area. And now we have to get the position of this area. We can duplicate this, and now we have to decide where we put it. So it's quite obvious, we'll put it after the separate geometry and before the offset, so it will be like here. So now we got these two positions. Use another vector math and set this vector math to be distance. And grab the attribute from these two capture attribute. And plug that to the scale. Now you see what I mean. Everything close to here, it will be weaker. So duplicate this scale and put in front of the multiply. Plug the distance in. If you like, you can make it stronger. Maybe now I like the hand to be wider. I can go back to change. The hand is here, so we forgot to name this, so maybe we can rename that. And this. So So make the hand wider like this. Okay, and take a color ramp, put it here between distance and the scale. In this case, we can change the portfolio of this. So I would like to change this scale of the noise texture to be smaller. The scale smaller means the wave is bigger. If we change that to be bigger, it's a lot of detail. But remember, this is the big wave, so don't have to be too much detail, because we will have the small wave later. And now we finish this part, we can duplicate this after that. But before you put it, maybe you want to change this value to be lower, the subdivision surface, so it will not crash your computer. And cut this off and grab this and plug back the distance for this and change the noise W and the other value to get a different pattern. So now you just change this to be something that you're looking for. So now maybe you like me in this stage and you get something like this. It's very blocky, very chunky, and we can use modifier to fix that. Use a smooth modifier. Set this to be 1 and this to be like 2 or 3. And after the smooth modifier, you might see the body and the tail are separate. So now the vertex group is once again useful. Select these all parts. And now it fixed the problem because it only smooths this edge area. You can see all this part, it looks too small. So if you want to make it bigger, just change the scale. And a little bit different value. We can set it to be set smooth. And now it looks quite okay, just without the texture. But one thing can make it looks better is using a triangulate. And just plug that before this capture attribute. You can see like here is much better. That's before and after. It really looks like this part or this like a bone structure. So if you see in the wireframe, that's how it become. It make this into this, and this way it will make the structure stronger because all these pointy place is more concentrate for the edge, right? So this part will be folding more, and it's much different than like this is very even. So the triangulate will make the structure much better. So if you want to make something like a flower or something, this setup is also very useful for that. And after the triangulate, you can try to change this value for the subdivision. It might give you something that you wish to. Also the second part, it's depend on the look you're looking for. It does fix this edge area, but we have other way to fix that, so it's not a big deal, but I kind of like that. Okay, that looks fine, and I would like to do this one more time. And now we can name this to be mid noise. As you might guess, we can make another one for the small noise. Just duplicate that, so it's quite easy. And also plug this back and take this to all the way up because we just want the edge. Although change this color ramp, it does kind of help for this selection, the different power of this noise. It's not quite perfect because the distance between here, like here to here and here to here, are actually different. Here is more further, here is closer. we can use another way, use more information to define this group input. What we want is edge neighbor and compare, and set this to be less than or equal. Plug this in for the first one and set the b to 1, and use a Boolean math. Plug this with this all part and plug the result for the selection. And now we try to put this all the way down, change the scale. Noise will only affect the very edge, so that's what we want. Now you just change all the value to be what you like, and you still can use this color ramp to make a little bit change to suit your need. Let's see in the wireframe. The wireframe is kind of reasonable for this detail. So what this do is to help this all part selection. Because this all part selection, it was supposed to define the very edge for these tails, but now it's not doing that anymore because we have to use subdivision surface in each of the steps. So now the very edge is already be subdivided and extrude. It kind of be a very thick area. So now we want to use this setup to help this. And this setup means you will find all these edge for this model, and when the edge is not connecting more than one face, that place will be selected. So which just means only the very edge will be selected. And actually it's the same if I plug this to here. But I would like to use the add with this. That is because if somehow we have some broken area, we don't want that place to be selected as well. So I can grab this to here. Now we clean this node tree a little bit. So this is not going to change, so we put them smaller. So we group that and name that to be after offset, and also group this to be before offset. You can put this inside of here. So that's the node tree we got for this point. Let's take a look what we have done so far. So all this part is doing the one thing, is to offset the tail, and all this part is doing one thing, to apply three kind of noise, and these two is finding the distance between before offset and after offset. So the idea is pretty clear, kind of like the flower tutorial. And now we can do more. We can delete some face, can make a different selection, and of course we can make the scale of the fish.